In the last video, we talked a little bit about this idea of diffusion and how that results in both cultural convergence and cultural divergence. And again, diffusion is the spreading of ideas, language, religion, products, disease, etc. And this example here is again that Silk Road that we talked about in the other one, which is how items were exchanged between groups in Asia along the Silk Road. A prime example of diffusion can be seen here with the bubonic plague that spread into Europe as it came from merchant ships that were coming in from Asia into these European ports. As the ships were unloading and the rats that were carrying the disease started to filter out into the cities, the disease spread from area to area. And this map over here kind of shows you where it was spreading as time went on. This disease ended up killing 1/3 of Europe's population. There are some common, more current examples of how diseases can be diffused from one area to another in the world, such as AIDS, which really exploded in the late 80s and 90s. More recently, H1N1. We also have the SARS outbreak in China. Smallpox had as part of the Columbian Exchange, diffused out of Europe and into the New World, killing millions. Examining America and American culture, we can find several examples of how diffusion can be seen in everyday life. For example, there are many holidays that we practice here as part of our culture actually came from Europe, such as St. Patrick's Day. There's also several forms of architecture that one can see from city to city that are taken from European roots. Cinco de Mayo, another popular holiday, especially around the southern portions of the United States, diffused out of Mexico. Chinatown, several large cities have these little mini China cities within their own, such as Chinatown in San Francisco, which is an example of Chinese culture diffusing out to America. Migration, over here we can see where higher concentrations of Mexican Americans are found along the southern border. And as time goes on, this pattern goes out in diverse directions. This slide represents the size of the British Empire in the 1700s. And as we can see during this time, the this would be the Britain, and you can see the areas in red are areas that were under the control of Britain at that time. Now, being under the control of Britain resulted in the diffusion of several elements of culture, such as language, government, holidays. For example, in America, we speak English, which was the direct result of being under control of the British Empire. And that's the same for India, Australia, Canada, and parts of Africa, such as South Africa. Now, as directed by your teacher, answer the following question. Identify 4 aspects of culture that can be found in North America as a result of diffusion out of European nations. One of the biggest factors that has shaped culture in South America was the period of Spanish colonization. Very similar to what we saw in North America being influenced by the British colonization. South America changed a great deal once the Spanish conquistadors arrived. With a partner, or as directed by your teacher, identify 4 aspects of culture that can be found in South America as a result of diffusion during Spanish colonization. European and Native American cultures encountered each other for the first time in 1492. This encounter, referred to as the Columbian Exchange, led to the introduction of new products to both cultures. Europeans brought horses, goats, cattle, pigs, chickens, wheat, and goods like cannons, crossbows, and steel to the Americas. At the same time, Native Americans had developed many foods that were unknown to the Europeans. An important result of the encounter was that the European diet was greatly improved by the introduction of new foods, such as tomatoes, chocolate, potatoes, beans, peppers, pumpkins, squash, sweet potatoes, peanuts, and corn. Europeans also learned how to smoke tobacco. Of course, not all the exchanges were good between these two civilizations. We know that these diseases that were native to the old world, as they were brought over to the new world by these explorers, the Indians suffered enormous death as the diseases ran rampant through the area.